Shake your fringe and begin. Shake your fringe and begin. Ooh, yes, that does collect the light quite nicely, doesn't it? So, we've actually begun several times already. And here's the funny thing. This video and this poem and this whole day is for my extremely beyond all human words inspirational friend who is a muse and a mama and a sister and one who is true and a force and of course beautiful too. Oh, look at that. See, this is a good backup plan. My selenite wand. I had to put on my own enchanted white gown. So I was wearing something entirely different before, and I filmed this whole video and poem already, or so I thought. Turns out I didn't film anything. I filmed about 50 seconds, and then somehow fumbled, and poked the button. Just stumbled upon, just bumped it somehow, and stopped the whole thing. Didn't capture any of it, and it's okay because I was fumbling all over it a lot and tongue-tied and high from the emotion of it still, but also did a lot of misspellings and left parts out and mixed words for other words and was doing voice to text because I was doing it quickly for my mermaid friend was coming over bringing me food. How lovely is that? And she too is connected to this muse, the mermaid, the muse, and I. We're in a little trifecta of friendship, a weaving together of lady love. So she was coming over and I was trying to get through it, and I thought I was doing so good, and I was over here on the deck and I caught the last glimmer, the last gleam of sun upon the horizon, the poof, the fade out of it, and I had just caught it, and it rained this cleansing, beautiful rain upon me in the softest little modern dance upon my face, and I didn't get any of it. And then mermaid came over, and I had this perfect shot of the moon, but we had to eat this delicious food, and the moon has been submerged like you were today, you beautiful bird. Submerged. Luna, she is behind the clouds. She is gone behind her changing screen to be a queen. So this is the third attempt because the moon left me as I was all set up over there to capture her just so, and she had to go. So we'll let her do her thing because she's the moon after all. So I had to let her go, so I pose myself by things that I grow, that I am growing, that I am giving life to. These little red floofs. You see the floofs? So I did that, and I brought the selenite, and I made the outfit better because it really was so epic. But I figured it's okay. It's okay that you don't care that I don't have the production value that I had before. Oh, and I put some real flam. This is a real flam in this selenite, so that we had selenite on selenite, charging and recharging. Ooh. And just barging through all the bleakness to illuminate it. So I'll show you this and then blow it out because my mother's watching, you know. She doesn't want me having lit flames, but doesn't that contain the feeling of what today is? And so I put so much word into saying how there isn't enough human language to say what we did today and how we prayed together and the new world we untethered from its holding place and sent it rolling straight to our faces, straight to our faces. I struggled so, stammering over my words, trying to find the proper ones to describe what today was. And this does a better job, because I already thought I filmed it and didn't. But this does quite the job of giving a visual to all that we held today. So, ceremonially and psychically sending this to you, lovely one. The work is not done, but boy, we sure had a good run at it today, huh? Had a good run at that inner work. So, wore this crazy berserk ceremonial gown to be in it. I'll come a little closer to you because I feel like we need that. Into me you see. My mom told me that. She was teaching me about what intimacy is. Into me you see. Thought they should teach that in all sex ed classes. It's a much better way of getting to the root of it, eh? Into me you see. Into me you see. Intimacy. Light capturing. So today I was called to a very bold and mighty mission, and I'm still glistening from it. And I attempted to put it into poetry. I'm actually glad I got to rework it and reword it. Hopefully I can read it though. Here you go, honey. You can see I did some tweaking since I last thought that I was speaking it to you, but I was speaking it to the rain. But that's okay. I think she really enjoyed it. This looks kind of, ooh, it's very space age. It's very Barbarella. There we go. We're a little more. Shake your fringe, begin. So, here it is. It's called We Charmed the Snake. She sheds her former skin as the aspen leaves quake. We shuffled our best laid plans again. We kept trying to schedule a full scoop of time in which to hold each other and bathe one another in light. She's been in a fight of revealing and reeling and upheaval. It's been downright medieval. Heavy torches she must carry with her children, staring at the flicker, following her, knowing they are part fairy, and that will make the scary bits a fair bit more scary. She's wary, and I know it, and I feel it too. She takes on monumental lifting and the simultaneous gift and curse of always being seen first, felt or used as a muse. It's not something you choose, it's something you lean into. The shuffling and timing with her brood and their many to-dos is imbued in her every move and choice. She texted me that she would have to postpone again, and it was only words in writing, but still I could hear her voice in it, weighted down with stretched seams threatening to catch on something vital or split. I hit snooze on the alarm so many times this morning and without warning felt quite desperately sad about today's date. As fate would have it, she called me, real ringing and my little phone light glowing. We all know voice-to-voice conversations are harder and harder to come by. I rubbed my sleepy eyes and to my surprise, she told me she needed me. Actually, it was a quest. I told her instantly, palpably, I felt an increased beating in my breast. She was called to a soulful test today. She'd been keeping a torrential storm at bay inside her, and she was sure this was the morning to wade into the water of our growing up reservoir in her wedding dress, releasing the narrative of particulars and particles from her marriage, letting them slide adrift far and wide, and to stop hiding from the shifting of it, to let the waves of pain ceremonially, to let the waves of pain lift from her body and brain, to let the waves of pain lift from her body and brain ceremonially, elementally, serendipitously, to free herself from the constraint tainting the love that was made from the journey and that the journey had taken. She was completely shaken by this moment. She was completely shaken by this very moment she awakened call to action. She was very shaken by this very moment she awakened call to action. And over the phone, I could only feel a fraction of the reverberation in her sternum. I would experience more in person. I did not hesitate for one moment and was certain I did have a role in releasing this valve's pressure by making a salve of my empathy and lathering her with it. My immediate role, though, was to be snapping photographs of the metamorphosis. She arrived at my house, and I could tell the electricity inside her was making a mess of her nerves. She was swept in so many directions, though the air was still. She was willing herself to take each breath and step and to go put that dress on in my bedroom. I could feel the build-up and intensity all the way in my womb. She was exhuming a whole collection of shadow selves that had, as of yet, been unattended to. I knew she wouldn't be offended by my observation, but before she changed into the wedding dress, I told her she looked like a goddess version of Steve from Blue's Clues. She was so damn cute in her striped shirt and men's pants. Her eyes always look like she's just been asked to dance and is either elated or terrified to do so. Her voice was slow, but her movements held 100 thoughts apiece. I too was nervous to instigate this necessary release. We drove to the mountains and followed the trail down to the beach where she was married. We had so much to unveil, but as we climbed down, her vitality looked pale. Her vitality looked pale. I held my hand out to her as we maneuvered steep and unpredictable rocks. Her dark locks spun like ribbon as her heart considered what she had and hadn't forgiven, and her eyes glistened, whispering about deep emotional blocks with the wind and the water. Her daughters and her son are so lucky to have her as a mother. As I write this now, a mighty monarch flies above me and uncovers even more divinity in the post-emergence processing. I felt her fears surging and swelling and telling the air to carry her through the transformation. She is a whole train station of converging energetic activities. She is centuries of femininity and its masculine counter-pulley, and seeking as only humans and fairies can. She is peeking through the curtain of a brand new debut. She is true to multiple forms of herself, as I am. She removed her glam rocker 60s beatnik white boots to feel her own roots, to feel the journey rocks as she scooted like billowing silk down the mountain's decline. Everything felt like a sign, even down to the fact that we took the wrong path and had to shimmy down a rock face. The whole place was buzzing, and naturally so were we. Her face held so much grief, but also the clearest belief that she was right where she needed to be. I snapped pictures of her along the way as the sunlight played with the water, making rays so potent I swear I could hold them like wands, beckoning greater versions of us and reckoning all that we've been on the cusp of, but somehow got around to shoving ourselves away from. I swear angels strummed harps. Every bit of our hearts stood there, laid bare, initiating transfiguration. Woven into a million fine threads of contemplation, she began melting, plunging into the wet cove. Plunging into the wet cove. Her need for letting go drove her forward, and I followed, slipping on my feet and into her undulations, camera in hand. No plan, no second guessing. Just pressing on into what must be. I felt so honored she let me capture this unfolding, pouring of an entire sea's worth of love and choices and birth and betrayal and self-worth and frail and mighty moments and moans and being alone together while in the same room and again filling her womb and booming, undeniable, rattling, disappointment battling, with a smattering of favorite songs and long, long nights and fights and rainbow-colored lights and cakes made by hand and someplace soft to land until there wasn't one. Then all of a sudden, all that she was unleashing pierced through my breastbone to my very heart. I felt where she started and where she was, and the flood of it, and the flood of it all. And I bawled like a small child and told her it was so painful. She nodded beautifully and held my hand and told me, yes, it is. It is painful. Should I go all the way in now, fully submerge? She asked me. Just then the wind urged me that this was indeed the moment, and I told her, yes, now, it's wide open. The water gulped her up and spit her back out as a brand new woman. It was a battle, and she had won. The sun showed the reimagined face that she now emanated. She was beautifully possessed. The breeze caressed her, and she was living calla lilies, orchids, bumblebees, flight, seductive night stars, far-reaching divinity. She told me it was a baptism, and we both felt the undercurrent of infinity. She had been so afraid and now was radiating a neon green power. She was a tropical flower with leaves so thick and waxy they protect her always. She smiled like a child and played with the water droplets. It was as though she forgot all of the agony she'd carried down there with her. She laid on the rocks like a zen basking mermaid, saved from sharks mere moments before. She looked restored and texted me later that an elixir had been poured over her entire being, and she felt resurrected from a kind of hollowed emptiness, a partnership theft. So, a partnership theft. When I saw her just this morning, it was like she had so little flicker left. And when her head broke the surface of the water, cresting like a rocket, I could see a million twinkle lights plugged into the sockets of her eyes. I thought to myself, wow, she can fly now. Her brows lifted, she let the day in. Her skin glistened like opals. The awful cloak she came wrapped in disintegrated, her essence regenerated. She told me that it was though she had been waiting for this her entire life and couldn't have waited a moment longer to become stronger by commemorating the truth, staring at her from the next page of her life. She will, for now, no longer be a wife. But she is so many beings and names. She will never be the same. And isn't that something? She isn't running. She dug her toes right into everything that it was. I felt the buzz of her reclaiming herself, and I told her she can now empty the rocks from her pockets, representing those many steps, and refill those pockets with a wealth of new gems and mountain flowers and memories. As she became new, her whole face was sending me to space, to unvisited dimensions. Just then she mentioned that it felt like we could be anywhere, as though we could be anywhere on the planet, or on some other planetary realm, perhaps. I clapped because I was thinking the very same thing. The leaves were swing dancing, and we were romancing each other back into a new choice, a clearer voice, hoisting up our watercolor flags to brag about all the enchanted islands we discovered, with few words and many emotions. It was our hometown reservoir, but it was also many an ocean in Greece and France. It was a dance we've never done before and are sure to do again soon. The wind hummed tunes to us, sacred tunes, and we remembered what it was to really trust again. I held her hand, which was stronger now, my muse, my true, true friend. We tended to a whole entire soul garden today, and come what may, I know fairy tale apples are growing along with more abundance than we had any way of knowing was there, before we dared to uncover it. We became lovers of the uplift, and everything shifted, almost cryptic with messages emerging psychedelically. The mark was indelibly written in beautiful golden earth-holding calligraphy. We went on a discovery spree, existential excavating. My heart was still palpitating, but in such a harmonic and symphonic way. It was difficult for us both to land on what our human words could do to say what the moment deserved. I said that each time her face spoke its own new language, I tried to push the button and capture the image. And oh, the potency I found within that lens. The tatters we mended. There was no need to pretend. It was holy. We were as high as one can imaginably be with no substances needed. We completed a pivotal odyssey. And as we learn to carry new pieces, the same wind teaches us how to hold it all, to not fall, or if we do, to stand even taller in the next new path. I saw her laugh with her whole spirit. There was a fog clinging to her, and she cleared it. I helped her peer inside a reframed, unrestrained mental space. It's hers to claim and hers to face. We traced poetry all over that soft sand, hand in hand and xenon bright. We're both going to dream so deliciously tonight. I helped her bite into that juicy apple of the unknown, and I know we've grown since this morning. And cobblestone pathways are forming as our bodies were warming out of the cold water. Heightened and brightened wavelengths were swarming us like lusty bees to honey. I can still feel it. It's positively yummy. We are all new because that's what we choose. Oh, I don't think it stopped. I was going, oh my god, because I thought it stopped. Okay, it's gonna give me just a minute with my memory. I wanted to show you one thing that was really connected to the thing. And I've gotta pole vault dogs and run with dogs running after me and run for the memory. I just had to show you this. That I found this existential excavation. I found this as I was getting ready to write the poem, and that's why it's in there. Existential excavation, because that's what we did today. Congratulations, we did existential excavation and so many other kinds. So much more in my mind, but I'll tell you, I'll give you more of the pieces. We unlocked so many things with our keys.